Today we're looking at the protocol droid that needs no introduction, C-3PO. He is the ever-anxious, overly polite counterpart to R2-D2 and has a bigger role than most people give him credit for. Today we're looking at the original Kenner C-3PO. We're going to dive into his history and his saga and find out what made him the icon that he is today. C-3PO is in the first shot of any characters, right behind R2-D2, and he's responsible for uttering the first line in Star Wars. Did you hear that? As the events on the Tantive 4 were reaching their conclusion, C-3PO reluctantly joined R2-D2 in the escape pod, and once they were on Tatooine, the two droids part ways, but are both captured by Jawas and are reunited in the Sandcrawler. At the Sandcrawler's next stop, C-3PO is purchased by Owen Lars, and with C-3PO's input, so is R2-D2. Imagine if C-3PO had held true to his vow of no more adventures. When R5-D4 blew his motivator, he could have kept his mouth shut and Star Wars would have gone in a totally different direction. R2 would have remained on the Sandcrawler when the stormtroopers got there. The plans would have been returned to the Empire. Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen would have lived long lives, and C-3PO would have spent his existence on a moisture farm. Probably a fate that he would have preferred. After R2-D2 escapes from the moisture farm, C-3PO travels with Luke to find him. When they find R2, they are attacked by sand people, and C-3PO loses his left arm. This is where C-3PO would earn his first Purple Heart. The arm is reattached at Obi-Wan Kenobi's home. The four travel to Mos Eisley, where they join up with Han Solo and Chewbacca. Together they escape Tatooine on the Millennium Falcon. The Millennium Falcon arrives in the debris from Alderaan and is captured by the Death Star. On the Death Star, C-3PO is responsible for communications, assisting with coordination and rescuing Han, Luke, Leia, and Chewie from the garbage compactor. The moment when C-3PO shines is when he and R2 are discovered in the control room. 3PO realizes they are about to be discovered, and he and R2 are placed themselves in a closet, giving the appearance that they were victims. 3PO shows that he too can manipulate people. He convinces most of the stormtroopers to go to the prison level and gets the last stormtrooper to let them leave. Interestingly, when it's time to go to the Millennium Falcon, it's 3PO that decides it's time to go, not R2. From here on in, 3PO's role is relatively small. I love that he's always quick to blame R2, like on the Millennium Falcon when he thought he was melting, and stated to R2, "This is all your fault." But we know how he really feels about R2. We know how happy he was to reunite with R2 in the Sandcrawler, and how worried he is as R2 is boarding Luke's X-Wing. When R2 is hit, 3PO is the only one who reacts. "Looking at you, Leia." When they return, we can tell that 3PO is concerned for R2. The next time we see 3PO, he is in his full glory during the victory celebration. C-3PO is crucial in making R2-D2 work as a character. If 3PO had been too cool or capable, it would have diminished R2-D2's charm and resourcefulness. Instead, 3PO's anxiousness, his often clueless personality, allows R2-D2 to shine as the clever and brave counterpart that he is. More than that, C-3PO is R2-D2's voice, completing their back and forth dialogue. Without C-3PO, we could have gotten subtitles, something that would have fundamentally changed how we experienced R2-D2's personality. In 2017, I attended the Fan Expo in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, specifically to meet Anthony Daniels and get an autograph on this 8x10. It was actually a great experience. He went into the crowd and interacted with people. He is very, very friendly. If you ever meet him, I strongly urge you, ask a question. He will take the time and answer it. He has a fantastic autograph, which you don't really see with a lot of celebrities today. You can really tell that he actually takes care and tries to make it look like something really, really nice. If you ever get the opportunity, go get one. C-3PO was one of the first 12 figures released and overlapped with the Empire Strikes Back's removable limbs version. The original version was available until the Empire Strikes Back's 41 back. The picture on the card is clearly from the Death Star control room, however, it is not from the movie. Personally, I probably would have picked a shot from the Tantive 4 or the Victory Celebration, as the lighting is much better than in the control room. Nailed it! Spot on! I have no complaints. But if I did have to come up with something, it would have to probably be the bolt on the back of the head. But I gotta be honest with you, it never, ever, ever bothered me one bit. I think the artist did an absolutely amazing job on the costume accuracy. It feels like all the details are there. And if I were to start nitpicking, the only thing I can really find to nitpick is that the exposed wiring at his waist is not really included. I have a feeling that the choice of materials probably impacted this, but no, the artist did an absolutely amazing job on this. C-3PO can stand with his arms extended. However, he's not a very stable figure. He's got actually a really small footprint, which probably has a huge impact on this. Trying to get him to stand outdoors is a real challenge due to this. Technically, the arms are spot on. However, he's not holding him the way he does for 99% of the movie. The arms should have been rotated in another 45 degrees, and that would have been actually way more accurate. Also, his shoulders are way broader than they should be, which is actually really disappointing because this is my #1 complaint about the figure. I desperately wanted to put him in an X-Wing so that he and R2 could go on their adventures together, and due to the arms, he does not fit, which was very disappointing. The original C-3PO Kenner figure actually has a very narrow stance when compared to removable limbs version, which has a lot broader stance. The feet are further apart. I think the closer stance is more accurate. C-3PO never ever takes a dynamic stance. His feet are usually just a couple of inches apart. So I think this version is actually far more accurate. This channel will always be free. However, if you're looking for a way to support me, my wife and I started Fresh Solutions Therapy, an online therapy practice where we believe that therapy doesn't have to suck. We have a young, energetic, enthusiastic team that really wants to help you and that is serious about getting results. So if you're looking to make some real changes in your life, I strongly encourage you to check us out at freshsolutionsTherapy.ca and book a free 15-minute consultation with a therapist that seems to resonate the most with you. This 3PO figure captures the overall look with its sculpt and metallic finish. The shoulders are probably a little broader than they should be, and my #1 complaint is the hand orientation. The metallic finish on the original C-3PO figure tends to be much darker and richer than the removable limbs version. That being said, by choosing the materials that they did, they came exceptionally close to achieving the best metallic finish on any C-3PO figure to date. However, in doing so, they selected a material that had no elasticity, and over time, with use, the joints would become smooth and exceptionally loose, much like a marionette that had its strings cut. This would doom many C-3POs to spend the rest of their existence sitting. It is very tough these days to find a C-3PO figure that doesn't have any play in its legs. C-3PO was one of the original 4 figures I ever got, and I played with him a lot. In my Star Wars universe, he never translated a single word for anybody ever. Everybody in my universe was fluent in German and then eventually in English. In my Star Wars universe, 3PO was the MacGuffin. He is what people were fighting over. He was the man of gold, the statue of gold that people had to control. After all, the fate of the galaxy depended on it. One of my biggest disappointments is that C-3PO does not fit in an X-Wing, thanks to the sculpt of his arms. I wish he would have fit because R2 and C-3PO would have gone a lot more adventurous in my Star Wars universe. Due to the materials and heavy play, my C-3PO eventually got unbelievably loose and wobbly. He was eventually replaced by the removable limbs version, and he would spend probably the rest of his life more in the bottom of a box or sitting in a land speeder. Very sad. Regardless, to me, this is one of those figures that has way more memories attached to it than most of these other figures. Well, now I'd like to hear from you. Did you have similar experiences? What adventures did your C-3PO go on to? I'd love to hear about it in the comments. And until next time, take care.